of working our way through Empower Yourself, Awaken the Beast Within. And yesterday we touched on the exercise called Who Am I? And it was a lot of questions that were purposely placed there to get you to question and create clarity around who you believe that you currently are. And if you watch the video, I talked about some things that we may run across are things that we may not like about who we are. We might find some things out about ourselves that we know in the long run aren't serving us. And so if that's the case, what we want to do is we want to begin to reframe that belief statement or that belief pattern. And so this exercise today will be all about questions that enable you to think about ways in which you can reframe things that show up for you that you know at the end of the day are not serving you. And I wanted to read this directly out of the book. And it says, are there areas of your story that don't serve you? If the answer is yes, you must reframe the parts of your belief system that do not serve you. That is an important aspect of creating the belief system that you want. When we reframe our idea or our belief, we are taking the statements we accept about ourselves and refocusing them in a new way, starting us in a new direction. So, and that applies only to the areas that when you think about them, you realize that they are not serving you. If they are things that are moving you in the direction you want to go, keep plugging along. But anything that either causes a wall or is an obstacle in your way, let's start to look at that and say, what's the lesson in this and how can I reframe this to get around this obstacle? So let's dive right in to the questions. So question 1, what's going on in areas of my life that are putting pressure on me and making it difficult to believe in my goals and my dreams? So what in your life is causing you stress that when you actually think about it and you know right now that this belief is true for you, that this thing is causing you to move away from your dream, or it's just stopping you, like you're hitting the wall, what would that be? Because first, we have to acknowledge that it exists. Because if we don't acknowledge and we just avoid, we'll never have the breakthrough that we're seeking. Right? And when we think about the things, because we're thinking about here, remember, all the things that do not serve us, right? That's the focus of reframing. So when you think about anything that is not currently serving you, that's the focus of this exercise. So question number 2, what will I look like in 10 years if I continue without reframing any of the negative aspects of my story? So we're visualizing what you will look like in 10 years down the road if you do not start to reframe and remove those negative aspects of your story. So what would a life look like where you're in the same spot you are today and nothing's changed down the road? I mean, how painful would it be if you look down the road, you're talking to your 10-year older self, and you realize you're in the same spot? How painful is that? And what are the things that are standing in your way from creating a whole new person? What are those things that when you look 10 years down the road, if you removed 1, 2, or 3 things that were like that wall, that it would start to lower, or it would open an opportunity for you to see, oh, there's a path around the wall. What would those be for you? But the point of that question is to be able to look at how painful would it be to look and say, I'm in the exact same spot that I am today, and it's 10 years later. Because a big part of life, right, and a big part of success, and we'll talk about this during later videos when we actually dive into success, but it's all about progress, right? And if we're not making progress, that's going to be a very frustrating life, in my opinion. All right. So, along with that question, then ask yourself, are the prices I am paying right now worth it over the 10-year period? So, are you paying prices right now, whether it's prices with your family, prices with your health, prices with your personal relationship with yourself, that if you do not make changes, you'll be fine paying those prices? Because no matter what we do in life, it really is, I forget who says this, but it's about what we tolerate, right? So what prices are you paying that 10 years down the road, if you continue to pay that price, you'll look back and say it wasn't worth it, right? Because if it's not worth it, it's time to kick it up with some new behaviors, new environment. I don't know what that looks like for you, but it's time to change the price, because we live in America, so everything's inflating all the way. So that goes with, if you're paying more negative prices, the negative prices are just going to increase the longer you stick with them. And so why not look at that, reframe it into things that are going to positively move you? And then the same thing with inflation, right? Whether it's negative or positive, it's the compound effect of all those things is going to build up over time. All right, so if we are talking about all those negative aspects of your story that are currently holding you back from being the person that you know deep down inside you are already, because it's already there. I truly believe that the person you're meant to be is already there. You just have to be able to see it so that you know what skills you must perfect and who you must connect with to become that person, but it's sitting inside of you to be unlocked or awakened. So what is the most compelling reason right now that you sitting here watching this video know you need to make a change today? What's going to be that thing when you look back, if we're talking about that 10-year time span, you look back in 10 years and you're like, man, I am so thankful and so grateful that I did this on that day. That totally shifted what I believed about myself and began to shift the actions I took and what I tolerated in my life. So, what is going to be that thing for you? What's that compelling reason? Or, in another term, what's the why? Why do you want to change today? Why do you need to change today to become the person you know you're meant to be? All right. So, how are all those negative stories impacting the people around you? How are they impacting your family? How are they impacting your friends? How are they impacting your job? Because all that energy, I believe we are all vibrating energy, and we carry that with us everywhere we go. And Brendan Burchard talks about setting up triggers for transitions. And what that means is anytime we are changing into a new activity or transitioning into a new activity, we take a minute to reset how we want to show up in that upcoming activity, and we let go of anything that was coming up in that previous activity. So, how are the negative things that are blocking you also impacting your friends, family, your job? What are those negative impacts creating on those relationships in your life? All right. And with any part of a story, right, we're the author, and we have choices that we get to make. And so the next question is, what are you pretending not to know? What's something that you're sitting there and you're saying, I need to do this, but it's something that you're just sitting there and you're avoiding? Because once you stop avoiding and you confront it, you're taking your power back from whatever that thing is that you know. The more we avoid anything, no matter who we are, whether it's having conversation, whether it's doing the work required, I don't know what it is, but I know it impacts every single one of us, including myself, where we can pretend to know, pretend not to know things that we need to do in order to reach our success. And those can be the things that hold us back the most because we already know and we just avoid because we are trying to avoid the pain. But if we would face it head on, then the pain, as ET would say, is temporary, right? So, what's that thing that if you faced it right now, it would eliminate so much pain that you've probably already felt, and it's just building up over time because you're avoiding it? I don't know what that is, but you get to answer that for yourself. All right, now, when we reframe all of those negative stories, all of those things that are like that wall that you're running up against, you're doing that. Now imagine yourself as someone who's 100% confident in your ability to create what you need to chase that dream and to chase that goal that you have for yourself. Imagine that. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to make it happen. You are the person, the only person that's going to make this happen because it was only given to you, right? So, what does that look like? What does that look like for you? No matter what you do, you're 100% confident in your ability to make it happen. What does that look like? Who do you get to become to make that a reality? What actions are you taking? Who are you interacting with? What does it mean you get to remove from your life? Because sometimes to get where we want to go, we have to remove stuff to open up that lane for new stuff that we need for our success. Right? So what is that and who does that person look like for you? Because you can make it happen. We just get to get very clear on who you believe that is and what that person gets to do on a regular basis. And again, so this is kind of, I already touched on this a little bit, but it's a question in this exercise. So it's, what will it look like to know the person you want to become? And I think what I mean there is, again, what is that environment like? Who are you around? What are you doing? What are you saying about yourself? But what does it look like to know that person? You probably already know that person. But I challenge you as part of this to write this down. Write down who that person is, what that person wants, who that person's interacting with. Create a very, very clear picture of that. And then the final question for today's exercise is, how will knowing all of this, reframing all these things, and knowing these answers along with what you created in the previous exercise of who am I, what does that mean for your actions, and how will your actions now change from what you were doing to what you will do? What are those changes you get to make to create that space for yourself to become your best self? So if you watch this and you gain any value from the questions and from this content, please share with anybody who you believe will find value in it also, because part of this is creating a community of like-minded individuals so that you can become your best self and you can live the no label defines me life. Because if you're up to big things, which you are, you must be patient, you must be diligent, and you must never, never quit, because no label defines you. And your label should always, always empower you. And my friends, if you are interested in knowing more about the book, getting a copy for yourself, I will drop the link in the comments below. And if you need anything from me, feel free to send me a direct message. All right, guys, go out and make it a great rest of your Tuesday, rest of your day, because I don't know when you'll watch this. But go out and be the best you can be.